Welcome to Fridays at the Front. I'm Will. This is a collaboration between the Shenandoah Valley Battlefields Foundation and Civil War Digital Digest. We want to bring you great stories from here in the Shenandoah Valley and encourage you to come visit for yourself. Today, I'm on the Cross Keys battlefield, and we're going to go to a couple of points within the battlefield. I'm starting here on the Confederate left or the Federal right. Over that direction is Harrisonburg, and Fremont is coming up on the morning of June 8th. And this is where the Union Church was. We can still see the cemetery here. In fact, there's some Confederate soldiers buried there from fighting in Harrisonburg just a few days before. Behind me, the other direction, about a mile away, General Richard Ewell is placing his troops. He's borrowed one regiment from General Isaac Trimble's brigade. That's the 15th Alabama under James Cantey. He leaves that here as an early warning. Cantey is near the cemetery and he's in line of battle. Now, many of you who are history buffs recognize the name of the 15th Alabama and Colonel Oates. William Oates right now is a captain in Company G. His men are in the center of the line, and Companies A and B are on the flank. It's worth mentioning this because this regiment is armed with two weapons. The flank companies have Mississippi rifles, and the main line have George Law muskets. George Law muskets are an 1842 Springfield that's been condemned and then rebored to rifle and having a rear sight from Alabama put on it. That's what most of these men are carrying as they wait for the Federals to come up. Their job is not to fight. Their job is to be an early warning. Matter of fact, the men are itching for a fight, and Oates writes,
"A skirmish line of the enemy appeared at the edge of the woods. The men were anxious to fire, and I could hear the click, click, click of locks along the line."
Well, that fight's not to be because as the men get ready, Colonel Cantey decides that he's done his job, and he certainly has, as have the men. They've developed the Federals, and they've given a warning. He gives by the right of company to the rear into column and marches off in column, which is a more efficient moving maneuver. They go at the double quick. It's a hot day like I'm out here today, and the men are a little unnerved by not firing at the enemy. They hit a fence that breaks up their formation. Fortunately, Courtney's artillery comes up on the ridge and gives them cover as the 15th Alabama pulls back from the left flank of the Confederacy. But they're not done, and the battle's just starting. Let's go to the other side and learn more about the 15th. All right, well, we're over on the Confederate right now, but we're still chasing the story of the 15th Alabama. If we look back this direction, you see the Widow Pence farm in the background, or at least that's where it is. After catching their breath under the Confederate artillery support, the 15th Alabama rejoins their brigade under Trimble. The men hunker down behind a fence and they watch a beautiful parade approach of the 8th New York. The 1,300 or so men fire a volley, and the 8th New York is horribly wounded and destroyed. One of the big stories here at Cross Keys. The 15th Alabama had a small part in it. One of their veterans, William McClendon, wrote that they were firing buck and ball. So even though those George Law muskets had been rebored to rifled, they were still shooting an ammunition that had more pieces of lead per round and were really better set for a smooth bore. Yet there they go. It was also a rather short range round, and the 15th wasn't in the best position. But General Trimble wasn't done. Ever aggressive, he saw the Federals coming, and he saw an opportunity. He came around to where we are on the Confederate right flank, the Federal left flank. Looking behind me, you would see where the Federal infantry was advancing and where artillery was supporting it. Trimble brings Cantey around here and detaches himself from the rest of his brigade. He splits the 15th Alabama into two battalions. In today's Army, a battalion is an organic unit. During the Civil War, normally a battalion was just a statement for two or more companies together, and it was ad hoc. Half the regiment went with Cantey, supervised by Trimble. Half of the regiment stays with Lieutenant Colonel Troitlin. They both come around on this flank and make an approach. Well, the Union artillery is under command of a captain, and he feels nervous that his guns are about to be taken, and he pulls the artillery back. The Confederate flank assault works. Beyond the 15th Alabama, there's also 2 Virginia regiments under Walker making this flank attack. Now, there's not a lot of closure and not a lot of fighting here, and that's okay. Sometimes combat is a game of position, not gunfire. You have a captain who's nervous, you put infantry on his flank and 1 or 2 good volleys to drive his gunners off. He pulls his guns back. Union infantry, already predisposed to fall back from where they are, have no choice in fallback. The Confederacy holds the day. Even though the 15th Alabama is rather green, we see they play a huge role warning the army on the left, coming around behind the army, helping at the Widow Pence farm, and then coming here, splitting into 2 and making a flank assault, working both flanks. It's an auspicious beginning for a young regiment. We hope you come here and see this. There are so many great markers here, and the Shenandoah Valley Battlefields Foundation is working hard to both preserve and interpret this space for you. Come on out and visit.